We're getting the radon pipe lined up where it needs to be. We got a pilot hole right there, and I'll finish drilling that in just a minute. And then I've got a pilot hole right there, and I measured carefully to avoid the rafter wood up above. What's it called? The trusses. I want to avoid the trusses, so that's why I measured. I got it exactly where it needs to be, and I drilled a pilot hole up through the attic, and I moved the insulation out of the way. So now when I drill a hole here, it's not going to come raining down insulation on me. So I got up in the attic and moved the insulation off of that little spot there. So we're going to drill a little hole up through the sheetrock for the pipe to go through. Now we've got a hole going up into the attic right here. And the reason why I had to put it out here was because I couldn't fit it in this little dead space next to the flue. There was just not enough room because we had a gas line, we had the vent from the furnace in the basement, and then also there's the floor joist down below right here in the way. There's a right where I was going to put it, there's a floor joist right there, and then you come over here and there's the trusses in the ceiling, so there's just not a lot of room to work with a big 4-inch pipe, and it would have had to be touching this vent pipe from the basement. I didn't want it to be touching that because it can sometimes get warm. So anyway, because of those issues, we had to bring it outside of that space. It doesn't matter. This is just like a storage closet anyway. It's just the utility closet that's upstairs, so I don't really care if there's a pipe going through it here. It doesn't really matter. So anyway, I'm gonna see if we can get the pipe to go up through into the attic there. And before I drilled that hole, I moved some insulation, so that was nice. Didn't rain insulation on me. So we got the radon pipe going into the ground under the concrete. Now I'm just going to caulk around the edges so there's an airtight seal so that when the suction is applied, it doesn't leak out the sides, and also so radon doesn't enter the home as easily. So I'm going to pull this up. We caulked around here to prevent air leakage, but also so if you get groundwater under your basement, it doesn't seep up through here. It's a tricky spot because it's a very tight space. If you have the option of putting your radon pipe in a more accessible location, then do it, because it's easier to work around, especially the back side of it where it's right next to the wall right there is tricky. But it's at least caulked in there, and I got to continue working on it up in the middle floor there, but we're making progress. Put the radon pipe through the carpet here. I've already pulled back the carpet and drilled a hole down into a closet space down below where we're gonna have the radon pipe run through the main floor. We're in the upstairs now, so I'm just gonna trace and cut the pad and then trace and cut the carpet here for the radon pipe to go through. Luckily, this whole carpeted area is inside a closet, so I would never run a radon pipe through a living room or bedroom, but in a closet it works fine. And if I really wanted to, I could frame this area, but I think this is going to work just fine the way it is. This piece of wood here that I'm going to use to trace with a marker around the pad, and I'll do the same thing. I'll trace the back of the carpet there, right where it needs to be, and then we'll get this cut out so it will go around the pipe. Just take a Sharpie. My father-in-law, when he did his radon system, he had to run his pipe through a closet as well. Sometimes you just have to do things like that. Oftentimes radon contractors will run the pipe on the outside of the house, but I'd actually prefer to have the pipe in a closet than have it be on the outside of the house, because if it's on the outside of the house then you can see it from the outside. I think it's unattractive. I'd rather have it be running through the house inside dead spaces in the walls or in a closet. So I think that's lining up well. I'm just going to check that. So again, I traced it on the pad, set it there carefully so it's in the right spot, that piece of wood that I drilled out. Placed the carpet back down and holding it together. See, I'm holding it with both hands so it came up on the right spot here. Move the camera over. Just maybe shifted just slightly this way. So just verified. It's good to verify several times before you cut it, because once you cut it, you can't uncut it. It's like the old carpenter saying, measure thrice, cut once. Line up with the hole there. I'm also going to put a little cut through right to here so that I can put the pipe in and then put the carpet down after the pipe's in, because I would like to caulk around the edge here with some fire. You're supposed to have fire blocking caulk or a fire collar, so I'm going to put fire blocking putty or fire blocking caulk that if there's a fire, the PVC pipe can melt, but you want the caulk to, it's the stuff that expands and fills the hole so that fire and smoke doesn't spread if there is ever a fire. So yeah, I think we're looking good. I'm going to cut the pad first, then cut the carpet and see how things line up. So the holes didn't line up just right, so I'm gonna have to trim a little bit. You can kind of see right there where with this shorter pipe I can get this to go down because it is more maneuverable. But the problem is it angles it too close to the wall, so I'm gonna have to see that little moon shape. I'm gonna have to cut some of that out by hand so that I can get this bigger pipe to go down, because the big pipe won't go in because it's just slightly off. It looks pretty good when you're just looking at it from here, but I'm gonna have to trim some of that excess off down there. So for that, I could try to fit a drill in this back in there, but I think it's gonna be just as easy to do it by hand with a saw. So reach down there and cut that. I could do it from below, but then the sawdust is falling in my face, so I prefer to do it above if possible. So here we've got our access into the dead space between a bathroom and a hallway that I'm getting access to from the garage, and it goes down into the basement, and we've already got the radon pipe down through the sub slab. I'm going to put this 45-degree coupling, and we're going to get it to connect up to there. So we're going to work on getting the right measurements for that. Here in my upstairs closet, we've got this radon pipe coming out of the middle floor, the main floor, and you have to strategically place these pipes in the right order so that you can fit them in, because you're just limited as to how long of a pipe you can use. I was hoping not to have a seam here in this closet, but I don't have a choice based on the way things worked out with positioning. So I got this one cut the right length, and I'm going to put this one up into the attic, and then we'll have to have a seam right about here. I'm going to use a Fenco rubber coupling. That way it's removable if you ever have to take things out for maintenance or working on something. it's not permanently glued together. So for most of my seams, wherever possible, I think it's ideal to use the rubber Fenco couplings so that you can maintain and change things later if you need to, rather than gluing everything together. Then it's all permanently stuck together and you have to cut things out. I think using the rubber Fenco couplings is the best way to go. And I ordered some white ones so it will match and look a little bit nicer in here. So I'm gonna just get this pipe in position, and then I gotta wait for those Fenco white couplers to ship. And they'll get here in a few days.